I'll pop up this timeline. We'll talk about eclipses first. And as I was saying, we only have 4 eclipses in 2021, as opposed to 6 eclipses that occurred in 2020. And when you think about it, it was more like 7, because one of the eclipses that happened in late 2019, on Christmas Day of 2019, was kind of part of the series that was occurring. There was a follow-up eclipse in January 2020. So 7 eclipses, who can get anything done, you know? But now we're going to have 4, which is more the norm. We like eclipses. If we had none, it could feel as if we're adrift. Eclipses can be a very good checkpoint. And the difference between a solar and lunar eclipse is kind of in how you want to use it. If some people also may have Jan's book, New Moon Astrology, that talks about how to work with each new moon and set your intentions. This is great every month. However, if you hear the word solar eclipse, you get on top of your intentions, at least for that one, because that is more powerful. Eclipses run on these bigger cycles of 6 months, and then even a bigger out 19-year cycle to help you regenerate new energy, new people, situations. So it's very much about things ending and beginning. And it's a great time to focus on what you want to let go of, what you want to cultivate. And it doesn't usually happen on the day of that eclipse, but when people look back in retrospect, they often notice that was about the turning point. That was when I was feeling the need for this, or that's when this weird situation started to pop up, because the eclipse is saying, hey, remember that change you wanted to make? Well, here's a way to make it happen. And you notice that the first eclipses of 2021 are happening during a Mercury retrograde cycle. This is good to know. We've got the first solar eclipse just outside of that cycle. And I'm going to take this down, if that's okay, just so I can talk to people too. And I don't know why I like to see their faces, but now you know where that is on your timeline. Unfortunately, the other eclipses do not fall during a Mercury retrograde. So that's important to know. And I'll be popping this back up later to point out these retrogrades one more time. But for now, I'm back. Yeah, so we know, okay, the first solar eclipse of 2021 is, lunar eclipse is on May 26th at 5 degrees of Sagittarius. So let's talk about lunar eclipses. Lunar eclipses are different. They're not really about starting something new. They're more about something coming to fruition. A lot of times at this lunar eclipse, people feel as if the chickens are coming home to roost. You know, sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's like, oh, finally, I see these results. Or sometimes, oh, I see these results. 2 different results can occur, but it's usually harvesting something that's been in the works. And also full moons, by their nature, illuminate information. And so when it's a full moon eclipse, you get more of a billboard than just a little sticky note of the information. And because full moons tend to bring out more of our dramatic side, knowing it's a lunar eclipse, astrologers have jokes about eclipse dramas. If something feels very dramatic and you check out your timeline and you're like, oh, perhaps is this an eclipse drama? Because I see that it's almost May 26th, you know, or that it's just was May 26th. Keeping that in mind can help you keep your sanity during the eclipses and realize things are shifting. People are freaking out. Maybe I'm one of those people. It's most likely going to look different and I'll have more objective perspective after this eclipse has passed. These are things I tell myself all the time. And usually the information you get at the lunar eclipse is spot on, but you may interpret it more dramatically at the time of the eclipse. The Sagittarius lunar eclipse is cool though, because Sagittarius is a spiritual sign. So it could really help people realize they want to connect more with a higher power, connect with their inner truth. You can direct your thoughts towards positive outcomes at this eclipse because Sagittarius is all about optimism. So you can really use the opportunity to shift away from negative self-talk and embrace possibilities. So one of the eclipse dramas that might happen is you starting to go down the road of beating yourself up over something, and then you remember Sagittarius, wait, this is about me finding my self-confidence. Because this lunar eclipse increases the likelihood of righteousness, it will be pretty important, although I think this is always important, to live your truth without trying to impose your views on others. So keep a heads up for that, because I think there's been a lot of that energy, because when we talked about the South Node in Sagittarius and the people, I am absolutely right, and there is no other right answer. Well, when there's a Sagittarius lunar eclipse, it kind of magnifies that. So check your facts, avoid making sweeping generalizations, and keep an open mind to varying circumstances. So that's the first eclipse of the year. The second one, in that eclipse, I should say, that lunar eclipse is just outside the Mercury retrograde. So it could still feel a little weird because we're so close to Mercury retrograde at that point. Again, that could really amplify miscommunications. So I'm proceeding with caution in late May and June this year. Solar eclipse June 10th. And again, solar eclipses now. Oh, you do want to set your intentions, new beginnings. It's in Gemini, cultivating personal and professional connections, intentions relating to calming anxiety. That can be kind of an out of balance Gemini trait sometimes, because Gemini rules the mind. And you may find around this eclipse, I'm thinking about all the things. And then you think, okay, maybe I can release that and at this solar eclipse. And just remember that it's during Mercury retrograde. So what I like to do when a powerful solar eclipse happens in a Mercury retrograde, focus on intentions that have to do with releasing things, because you can put some in for new beginnings, but you're not going to be able to get started on them right away till after the Mercury retrograde. So I find if you're anxious to see something happen, well, probably your intentions to release things will be more successful during a Mercury retrograde. And then this is Jan's advice in New Moon Astrology. She says, review your intentions list in the new moon after the Mercury retrograde. See how it feels, make revisions. You may cut some things out of there. So don't get too attached for these solar eclipse intentions, but it's still important to make them because you need a jumping off point. So after July 9th, we clear the shadow phase of that Mercury retro. And I'm going to talk more about the retrogrades individually. But when you're thinking in terms of this new moon, you can think, what do I want to cultivate that will probably manifest after July 9th? After I tie up all the loose ends that are blocking me from starting something new. So those are our summertime eclipses. Then, I mean, it's so weird. There's only 4. I don't know if it felt like this to you, but I felt like we're having constant eclipses in 2020. But we actually then don't have another one until November the 19th. And this one is a standout because it's the only eclipse of the year in the sign of Taurus. The other eclipses are either Gemini or Sagittarius. But this lunar eclipse on November 19th is at 27 degrees of Taurus. So yeah, these degrees are all on the timeline. You can put some thought into that, how it might sync up with your chart, because it's significant if eclipses pop up in important points in your chart, and especially near your sun sign, like a lunar eclipse. It kind of indicates that you may be in the spotlight or gain recognition in some way. And then if you have a solar eclipse that falls on your birthday, you're definitely going to have a lot of new beginnings. I can say that pretty confidently. I'm not a predictive astrologer, but that's just been kind of tried and true over time. It's a big year ahead, and neither one is anything to fear. Some people get worried, oh, eclipse on my birthday, but that just means you're ready for something different. And then when it's lunar, it really is more about being highlighted and being seen in some way. So we've got this 27-degree Taurus lunar eclipse, November 19th. I think this is going to help to illuminate a situation that requires attention, probably related to money, self-worth, values, and boundaries. These are all Taurus themes. And your ability to express your personal needs might come up around this time. It can definitely focus your attention on intimacy and shared resources. And it's a really good time to do an emotional check-in with yourself and your loved ones. Find out if anyone has been feeling undervalued. Is it you? Is it your partner? This eclipse can illuminate things that may have been overlooked. So again, it's very good, but at the same time, it could be upsetting if someone has been feeling undervalued. And maybe the time for the conversation isn't on the day of the lunar eclipse. You have the realization and then make a plan to have the conversation a few days after the lunar eclipse, and it'll probably go a lot better. I think you can definitely use this eclipse, this one on November 19th, to practice the art of letting go. We're talking about key times in this year to do that, because at this full moon, with the moon in Taurus, that means the sun is in Scorpio, illuminating the full moon. Scorpio is all about letting go. So if you need to free yourself from unnecessary attachments, thoughts, or situations, especially if they're detracting from your self-worth, it's a great way to use that lunar eclipse. So the final eclipse of the year is the solar eclipse on December the 4th. And that is at 12 degrees of Sagittarius. So that's kind of fun because the year was sort of bookended by these Sagittarius eclipses. Even though the one we just had in December was technically in 2020, it was still a Sagittarius new moon solar eclipse. And then just around a year later, December 4th, 2021, we're getting another Sagittarius new moon, continuing our story, learning how to stay true to our principles. I think it's safe to say that is one of the themes of the year. And without blocking out important information that might come to you from other people. A Sagittarius solar eclipse can be a chance to start over and set intentions that have to do with learning something new. Sagittarius is a sign that rules education. So maybe somebody decides they're going to sign up in some official classes about something around this time. Or if you're a teacher, I would say that December 4th solar eclipse would be a really cool time to kick off some of your classes that you might be rolling out. You know, obviously you can't wait all year if this is on your to-do list, but just knowing, oh, that's a good one if you have like the next phase planned of something. For all of this astrology, I want to mention you can definitely get proactive on it. If you don't want to wait all year for the eclipse, but you do want to maximize that eclipse. So if you had a big step that really needed to be astrologically supported, you could gradually work toward it, knowing, ooh, I want to have this bigger picture thing ready around that time, that December 4th eclipse, because that's some good initiating energy that's just waiting for me at the end of the year. And I think people will learn around this eclipse how to stay true, like I said, to their principles without blocking information, and also reminding us that we can learn new skills and feel confident even when we're in uncharted territory. So yeah, the beauty of being a student and admitting what you don't know, that can actually be kind of fun and liberating. Oh good, I don't have to know it all. So those are our 4 eclipses, and they're mapped out on your timeline. I think they're going to help us out.